So, hi, this is my learning reflection, and to address the first question, describe, summarize the concepts you have learned in the Java course so far. To be honest, I was already well acquainted with the Java programming language before starting this course, so there isn't much that I learned necessarily. However, regarding the Java assignments, because we did go over the basic syntax, such as an introduction, an intro to Java, types, operators, control flow, and arrays. These are all basic syntax stuff that's inherent to all programming languages, and I was already familiar with them. However, there were some cool stuff that I did pick up on, like in the Java control flow statements on how to initialize like an infinite loop using the. I did know about the while true that would make an infinite loop, but I did not know that if you left the three initialization statements for the for loop that would create an infinite loop. So that was something cool that I learned. Um, the From the Java APIs and the writing clear code documents that were linked here on the D2L. Reading through those, I did learn how to kind of keep my code more structured and general, just commenting tips. And the Java API did have some cool stuff that I did pick up on that I didn't know. Such as certain methods, constructors, and whatnot. The exercises posted within the Java assignments were actually also very beneficial, I find. Although most of them were generally easy, the Java arrays one in particular, the last one, the one on the magic squares, I found that this was actually quite challenging. I did spend some time on it, and I did. I never worked with. Although I was familiar with two-dimensional arrays, I never really quite worked with it the way that I did for this assignment. So here, looping, the issue that I had was I created I had created the magic square, but in order to print this, the sum of this diagonal over here, I had to shift over the magic square over 1. So I kind of had to, work through the array, and then I realized that I had to put a sysout tab right after the for loop for the i's. I was putting it down here, and it was kind of messing it up. So then I realized that I had to put it over here. So just working through the exercises also was very beneficial in terms of just mainly the logics. I'm familiar with the syntax and whatnot, but it helped a lot in the logic and just sitting down and working it out and analyzing the code. That's something I really enjoyed, and I think it kind of just helped me just with the skills necessary to create code like this. So overall, honestly, I did feel like I did benefit a lot from the current assignments. Um, the other thing that I would like to mention that I did also learn a lot from was the Git. So I am familiar with Git. I do have a GitHub. Um, I do have a GitHub myself that I had before. I actually that I that I had before this thing. I've created several projects like Forest Fire Engine, Minesweeper, Prime Number, essentially. And I did know that GitHub was this place where kind of like you open source, quote unquote, your code, and I was kind of familiar and I was comfortable with the UI, the user interface, and whatnot. But I never really had an intuitive understanding of what was actually going on. So by reading that book, that I did learn that Git is actually a version control system, and that there was actually ways that you could communicate with the command line using these prompts like within the command line. So like on the command prompt, right? I never knew that there was like head, master, and these other things that you could do, like rehead, base, and all these things. Working through that assignment was very, very beneficial, and it did really help me understand what Git really was. And the thing that I found really interesting was SmartGit, and it was really cool to me how I could use SmartGit to push my files and commit them onto GitHub. And so I just found that like really really cool. Like and it really like kind of made me understand what was really going on with these and I'm really looking forward to working with it. So from a Git standpoint, although I did use it in the past, it was really cool to actually understand how it works on an intuitive level and the specific commands and whatnot. So yeah, that's basically the stuff that I did learn. Um, so describing any problems that I faced while learning the concepts slash topics described above. Well, in terms of problems, um, again, the assignments that were posted were generally straightforward. I didn't really have any issues when it came to completing them, but when I did have like some problems, they were generally like syntax errors, you know, just simple maybe logic errors, and whatnot. So overall, I didn't really have like technical difficulties. I was able to, successfully install Greenfoot, SmartGit, set up the GitHub, and post my stuff on there. So if anything, most of them were just, I guess, my error of not maybe implementing the code properly, but I did fix those. And so in terms of how I did overcome these problems, the minimal problems that I did have, one thing that I really, really liked and that was a really good use thus far has been the Slack. Now, I wish every teacher that did an online class use this, because it's just so much of a better user interface. It's so much easier to communicate with your peers, and like I just like how much I've used Slack before, Slack and Discord, but I've never actually used it with an online course, and I just think it is such a good idea. Like it's so much easier to just communicate with the teacher, and the thing is, if I have a question and the teacher isn't there to answer, like for example, in the troubleshooting section, um, right here, I had asked the question as, are there any data types that can store numbers larger than the ones long can? And I had instant feedback. And this was also a learning experience because my peer over here had said that you can use a big integer class. And when I looked that up in the Java API, that was a cool thing that I just learned. So, it's just so easy to like work out things, and you can also answer your own questions because many times students have already asked those questions, so you can just refer to them. So over here, um, they said if they asked if there was like a rubric and whatnot, and the teacher had already answered, so I didn't need to ask it. So generally, my go-to for any problems that I have is the troubleshooting channel in Slack. Again, brilliant idea to have this Slack set up. I would definitely encourage like all online teachers to use it in the future. Um, so Slack was one, and and then another way that I think overcame them is just, I guess, persistence. To be honest, whenever I had a logic error or a syntax error in one of my uh, programs or my scripts, I just kind of sat down, and I've spent a lot of time trying to work out what I did wrong, how to make it more efficient, and so on and so forth. Thankfully, I am yet to encounter a technical issue, so that's a good thing. But if I do, I'll definitely be posting it on the Slack. So, what lessons have I learned for the future? To be honest, the main lesson that I learned for the future, moving on with this course, it's probably to stay on task with my stay on top of the assignments. I have finished, thankfully. I have finished all of my. Thankfully, have finished all of my GitHub assignments. I mean, it's not GitHub. My Java assignments, as you can see, Java intro is all done. Um, Java types and so on and so forth. So I have finished all of them, and but overall, I think it's best to just kind of stay on top of everything, and just ask questions when necessary, and yeah. That's my learning reflection for now.